This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is
the one that everybody wants, me.
Becky Lynch is going to WrestleMania. Claymore!
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. This is my iron. You're going to acknowledge me.
Welcome to the Weekend Review here on this Sunday, the 6th day of July, 2025. Hope everyone's doing well. I know it's hot as hell where I am. Likely, if it's hot where I am, there's almost a certainty it's hot where you are, and hope you're staying cool. Hope everyone enjoyed the 4th as we get closer and closer to Evolution, get closer and closer to Saturday night main event. And then, yes, eventually SummerSlam, which all three WWE is trying to simultaneously build. Never a good idea when you're trying to focus on a single event to build that to its biggest and highest potential. But here we are with WWE, and from what I understand, ticket sales for Evolution 2, not exactly the strongest. And I feel for the women, for the company, mostly for the women, because they are getting the short end of the stick. And yes, we got Trish Stratus coming out of the woodwork to help out the women, help out WWE, and be able to work with some new talent. And that's great. And I understand that, and I can appreciate that as a fan. And it's good to see Trish again. Certainly we've seen her enough over the last couple of years and working with some talent and working with Becky Lynch primarily and trying to get over Zoe Stark. That never really manifested, but I can appreciate all that. But the problem is that WWE should not be relying on its talent of yesteryear to build an event at this point in the women's evolution. These aren't dream matches being proposed anymore in my mind. These are just desperation moves. And not to say Trish Stratus is a desperation talent. She's extremely talented, especially for what she can do at her age. I give her all the credit in the world. But for how far along we are in the women's evolution and where it started, it feels like it should be much further along, to the point where they shouldn't have to be relying on the Attitude Era, Ruthless Aggression Era stars. And yeah, you could say the same thing about the men's division. We see the retirees come out of the woodwork towards WrestleMania, and even that roster is fading in terms of who you can select to do that. But for the women especially, I think that it would make they're all about making statements and sending messages. We hear it 14 times every show. Well, here's a message you can send loud and clear to fans is, we're ready to put forth the new generation of women without having to rely on the stars of yesteryear. And again, not that Trish is going to put on a bad match. I just think it's at the point where this has been going on, for 10 years now? And it's time for the women to kind of stand on their own, and they can. The women are more than capable of standing on their own. They've got a very talented roster, a young roster, some nice, bright new stars. And sure, they don't have all of their cylinders firing. Yeah, they don't have Jade Cargill anywhere near where she needs to be, despite the fact that she is in position to have a women's championship match at SummerSlam. But I think it's a match that most fans are not ready to see, or at least ready to accept Jade as champion. Despite how she feels that we should feel, it's simply the case. And Jade is not where she should be, or at least where she wants to be, where the company wants her to be. And now you have Trish Stratus coming in the mix. And I think there's a very good chance that Trish Stratus and Tiffany Stratton put on a better match than Jade Cargill and Tiffany Stratton, because there's no way Trish is winning the title at Evolution. Let's be clear about that. But Jade Cargill is seemingly a walking meme of herself at this point, and just slewing out her own propaganda. It's, as they say, it's like she seems high on her own supply, and not too many people are with her on that. And I continue to say I want her to succeed. So we'll see where this all lands. But that's point number 1 here on the WWE podcast. It is, again, the 6th day of July. And we have a lot of other topics to cover tonight. We'll get to them. I am in a undisclosed location on vacation right now with my family. So I'm in a pretty remote place, honestly. I mean, I'm looking at a bunch of forests surrounding me. I mean, if you look around, I'm in Bigfoot country. I will say that. But I mean, I got to say, way off topic, but if you guys have ever considered Bigfoot a possibility, I'm not saying I've seen one. Okay, I've seen some weird stuff in the woods, but I'm not saying, I've seen one, so for sure, But there is so much video evidence, and I don't want to hear, it's all doctored. Not every single piece of footage is doctored. Unfortunately, we live in a day and age where anything can be modified to look like anything, which is unfortunate with AI. But there is so many good shows out there about Bigfoot and how, what it could be, and some of the evidence that has been put forward, and footprints and DNA samples and actual video footage of the creature, which of course is the gold standard. It's the holy grail of evidence. Beyond the Patterson-Gimlin film, which is the film we've all seen. It's the film of the Bigfoot that everyone thinks is a man in a suit, which has actually been disproven. It's not a man in a suit from the 1960s. I know I'm going way off topic, guys, but this is also one of my kind of side passions is kind of crypto stuff, cryptozoology, which a lot of people laugh at, roll their eyes at. And, some of the stuff is a little bit off the rails, but when you actually produce evidence and there's enough sightings of things, you have to kind of wonder, hey, what the hell's going on? And with Bigfoot, if you guys haven't seen the show, it's Expedition Bigfoot, which is on Travel Channel. Highly recommended. If you're in the paranormal, ghost, and Expedition Unknown, or Expedition X, Expedition X, that's a great show if you're into cryptozoology and paranormal stuff. But with Bigfoot, Expedition X is, to me, one of the best shows, if not the best show for evidence that I've ever seen. And maybe I'll go on that on an After Dark, on my own After Dark show at some point, was with Bigfoot and all the paranormal. And again, some of you laugh, and it's fine. I understand why some people don't, and you got to see it to believe it first, which makes the earth kind of boring, doesn't it? Don't you want to believe that this stuff exists? Wouldn't it be more fun, even the most hardcore skeptic out there that laughs and rolls their eyes at me? Wouldn't it be a much more interesting and fun place to live on this rock we're all floating on in the middle of space if things like Bigfoot and ghosts and aliens and all the rest existed? Wouldn't it be way more fun if these things existed? The Jersey Devil, the what's the other thing? Mothman. There's another thing that's in Mexico. It's like a wolf man. There's so many different things. People have evidence of fairies, evidence of being abducted, and I mean, anyway, I'm way off. I did not expect to be talking about this tonight, guys, but highly recommend it. Expedition X, Expedition Bigfoot. Even Ghost Adventures with Zach Bagans and all that. Just great stuff. And a lot of it is really hard to dispute that it's any kind of false evidence being put forward here. I mean, you'd have to have so many people in cahoots to keep something like that under wraps. But I digress. Sorry about that. Let's move on to other stuff that's not real in a lot of senses and pro wrestling here. So that was one thing again. And guys, oh, by the way, if you want to go ad-free, patreon.com/WWE podcast is a great place to go, as well as Apple Podcasts to get everything ad-free. All right. It sounds decent right now. I'm on my laptop mic. As I mentioned, I don't have my studio mic, but I'm sitting in a very hot car right now, and I'm trying my best to not turn the air conditioning on, because if I do that, you might get a little background noise, and I'm trying to avoid that. So at some point in this show, you may hear background noise, and it's the car, the AC in the car, okay? Because it's so humid where I am. All right. So, all right, some other big things happening here on this week in review, and this may be a bit abbreviated, but let's continue on. And the next topic that I want to talk about is the Wyatt Six. Okay, now this past week, we did have a turn by Johnny Gargano, and the Wyatt Six were in competition against Johnny Gargano, Chris Sabin, Montez Ford, and Berto in an 8-man tag team match. The match went, let me see a timestamp. I don't see. Where's the timestamp? I don't have a timestamp. 10 minutes, about 10 minutes, with Eric Rowan getting the victory with his claw slam. And yeah, so Eric Rowan getting a victory is fine. Having Johnny Gargano turn heel is also, I mean, that's, I think Johnny Gargano is just a natural heel, to be quite honest with you. He's got a demeanor that makes you want to kind of, put your fist next to his jawline. And that's me personally. And so this heel turn, perfect sense. And I think what he did here by abandoning his team, he put himself in irrelevance for the first time in a long time, number one. Gives himself a chance to show his other side. He's got a little bit of that, what is that, Nunzio. You guys remember Nunzio from the some Italian group? Somebody out there is screaming it. I can't remember who it is, but Nunzio was the guy's name. He's got a bit of that vibe to me. And I think, some of you have no idea what I'm talking about, but I honestly think Gargano will do a much better job as a heel, instead of this kind of vanilla babyface that he's been in for a long time now. So that's a good thing, number one. Number two is one that it's more concern than a complaint. And it's a concern I've voiced for a while, but one that continues to rear its head. In what are we doing with the Wyatt Six? If the answer is nothing, and it seems like that answer is nothing, other than giving them wins and then losses and then losses and wins and having them off TV for 6 months and back on, the answer is nothing. That seems to be clear. Then disband the group. I don't need them together out of pity for Bray Wyatt. That is the only thing holding them all together. It is the only glue that these guys and gals have together is Bray Wyatt and what he meant and carrying on his legacy. And some of you may say, well, hey, isn't that enough? No. The reason that's not enough is name another star or stars or group or tag team that has ever succeeded solely based on the legacy of a former or former stars. Name one. And yes, some of you may say, oh, Eugene. Eugene was a collaboration of a lot of different stars, Stone Cold, The Rock, Hogan. He mimicked a lot of his favorite stars, but what made him charming was his quote-unquote, I say this very much in air quotes, his disability that he played very well. Nick Dunsmore played it very well. And he was an endearing character that it was ballsy to put on TV, but it worked, and it worked very well. Eugene is a case study, okay? If you guys are old enough to remember that, Nick Dunsmore played a character called Eugene that was a special needs wrestler. I'm not kidding. That it was done it was done tastefully enough where it wasn't, I don't think, in my mind, even in 2025 standards, it wasn't a character that belittled those with disabilities. It was done in a way that actually propped him up, and as the crowd, we naturally wanted to get behind him because we have sympathy for him. We can relate to him. Not that any of us have, most of us don't have disabilities in that regard, but actually I would say a lot of us. We all have disabilities in our own special way, don't we? A lot of us do. We're all just undiagnosed, issues that haven't been discovered yet. We're all effed up in our own special way. We all know this. But what was done with Eugene was just a special character, and yes, he was successful partly with that. But again, he stood on his own 2 feet because of how endearing he was, and such a unique character, a bold character by the WWE at that time. Very bold. In 2004, 2005 is really when he, at the height of his run there, which was a lot of fun. A lot of fun to watch Eugene. So, my point about all of that, though, is you can't have a group or a talent or talents running solely based on someone's memory. And that's all the Wyatt Six are and have been, including Uncle Howdy, of course, Bray's brother. You can't run on that. And the gas is running low. People sympathize with it. They get it. But they need you as a group and individuals to stand on your own 2 feet and tell us who you are, why we should care about what you're doing. And they haven't done that. They're running on the memory of Bray Wyatt. And that, again, the tank's on E. And I have nothing against any of the wrestlers in this group. Nikki Cross, Eric Rowan, Uncle Howdy, none of them. Okay? None of them. Yet, I am concerned about them as a whole because crowd reaction is not that great. They don't have an identity outside of Bray Wyatt. You take Bray Wyatt away, they don't exist. We don't know who they are without Bray. And sure, Eric Rowan got the victory, but what is the plan here? Is there anything beyond Wyndham Rotunda for this group? I'm concerned. So, it's not a complaint, more just an observation here, and I think one that's objectively true. So, we also had Charlotte Flair in action on SmackDown. Her and Alexa Bliss took on B-Fab and Michin, and they also took on Alba Fire and Piper Niven in a triple threat for a spot in the 4-way match for the women's tag team titles at Evolution. And this match ended with Alexa Bliss getting the victory. The finish was Flair walking across both opponents, went to the top rope, patted Bliss on the head, and the referee counted that as a tag. Flair moonsaulted onto both women. Referee didn't count. Flair chased Green off the apron, and then Bliss hit Twisted Bliss on Niven and Fire and pinned Fire to win the match. After match, Flair and Bliss hugged and then immediately pulled back. I guess they're allies, but one that somehow Charlotte is still playing big sister to Alexa Bliss. Alexa Bliss is not a newbie. She's a veteran. She's taken time off to mother her child. I get that, and well deserved. But she's not a newbie. She's not a newbie. She's not an amateur here. So I know that Charlotte playing the heel is always more fun and makes the most sense, but it's also kind of disrespectful to just Alexa's character generally, when it's always, her patting her on the little head and at a girl, and I don't know. It's less for me about heat on Charlotte's character and more about just disrespecting Alexa. And I'm not a big fan of that because Alexa Bliss has been in the game for a long time. Fans love her. She can't quite seem to hang on to the top spot or a top tier in the women's division, I should say. I don't know what it is about that. I wish that they would do a little bit more with Alexa. Her promos are always great. She's got the support of fans in a way that a lot of women don't on the roster. And they just can't seem to hold on to her. And I hope it's not another, we'll import her into the main event every 5 to 6 months. Then she'll pop back out and go back to the mid-card. And, it's better that she's on TV than off, but I think that Alexa is deserving of a top run here. We'll see if that comes true in the next, before the end of the calendar year. All right. So I know, by the way, guys, if you want to listen to the full SmackDown review, you can listen with Amanda from the UK, who did that this past week. And I'd highly encourage you to check it out. All right. We then got, again, the Trish Stratus. We already talked about that. We then had a really good tag team match here, one that I did not expect to be as good as it was, despite the fact that I know how talented these men are. I underestimated this. I overlooked it. Rey Fenix and Andrade take on Fraxium, Axiom, and Nathan Frazier. The match went 17 minutes and it ended with Andrade and Rey Fenix getting the victory. The finish was Frazier hitting a Phoenix splash on Andrade and had him beat. But Phoenix broke up the pin. Andrade dropped Frazier with a back elbow. Phoenix hit Adios Amigos on Axiom. Phoenix dove over Andrade and Frazier to hit a dive on Felix on the floor, and Andrade hit the Message on Frazier and pinned him. Really good. Again, I enjoyed the hell out of this match. I think the fans started to get into it as well. And the chemistry, which was brought about by one of the announcers, I don't know if it was Wade Barrett or his counterpart, but bringing up the fact that they have instant chemistry, sometimes it's just there right away, and that's a perfect way to put it, that both Rey Fenix and Andrade seemingly have just gelled instantly. Now, is that going to last forever? Maybe not. Maybe it lasts just a couple of weeks. But they seem to have a chemistry here that could absolutely bolster the other person. Both don't have a lot going on, to say the very least, right now. And they could be a great addition to the tag team division. Great addition. Dare I say, future tag team champions. So, we then have Jacob Fatu and Jimmy Uso. The Evolution lineup, by the way. Jade Cargill and Naomi was added to the Evolution lineup, which is fine with me. Again, Jade Cargill has a championship match coming at SummerSlam. But having her here with Naomi is, I think, a great place for Jade to be. Familiar opponent, an opponent that knows what she's doing, an opponent that has found herself not just in ring, but character-wise, which is the most difficult. She knows who and what she is now. She's got the briefcase, which many of us are expecting her to cash in at SummerSlam. I think that's a very strong possibility that Naomi cashes in at SummerSlam. Or, even at Evolution. I would say Evolution's probably a better place for Naomi to cash that in, because Evolution needs some kind of big hitting news coming out of that show. You can't go in and out the same way. You can't go in with your same champions that you're leaving with. You need this PLE to make noise. And that's a great way to do it, is having Naomi cash in and make the women's match a triple threat, with ultimately her coming out on top. I think that is absolutely a much better solution than her at SummerSlam, but who knows? Maybe they all fool us. But if I was WWE and I'm trying to make this a big show and I'm trying to get into the spotlight, I'm trying to make a little bit of noise on social media, this needs to have some big moments. Yes, title change or two, and just quality wrestling. That it's amazing what just pure quality wrestling will do on a wrestling show. But it also needs to kind of go beyond the wrestling purist fan base, which is you and I, and go into the mainstream where people who are scouring social media on that night go, oh, wait, what's happening with wrestling? The women's only PLE? What just happened? Who? Charlotte? What? Yeah, that kind of thing. But let's get to the main event here with in SmackDown. Jacob Fatu and Jimmy Uso take on U.S. champion Solo Sikoa and JC Mateo. The match didn't last too long, 9 minutes, with Jacob Fatu and Jimmy Uso beating them. The finish was Fatu diving onto Solo on the other side of the ring. Back in the ring, Fatu hits an Impaler DDT on Solo, and then Fatu hits up with a moonsault finish to get the victory. And after the match here, though, they get all their heat back because Fatu brought Solo to ringside, stripped the broadcast table, super kicked Solo onto it. Tala Tonga shows up, tosses Fatu into the ring. Jimmy went after Tala Tonga, and Tonga Loa shows up, attacks Jimmy, runs into the big boot from Tala Tonga, and Mateo hits Jimmy with a Tour of the Islands, and Loa executes a twisting neck breaker from the apron onto the floor, and Fatu was held in place while Solo hit him with a Samoan spike. And they brought Solo and Fatu over to ringside, and they ended up putting Jacob Fatu through the announce table. Now, this is fine. I mean, you have Solo Sikoa, who at one point remember how unbeatable he felt? Remember that point in time where the dude just looked like, who's gonna ever beat him? Who's gonna ever take him down? And it ended up being one random night on Raw with Cody Rhodes, of course. But there has been a long period of time now where Solo has felt very beatable. The killer Solo is long gone. It's been replaced with a much more 50-50 booked somewhat funny at times, Solo Sikoa. And the jury's still out on how the whole humor part of his character is going to work out. And if that's eventually going to turn him babyface, which it at some point will, but for the immediate future, it's not helpful for his character. But the babyfaces continue to beat him, and you would think that the money match, the money moment, would be Jacob Fatu pinning and beating Solo Sikoa. And we just got that on Raw or on SmackDown this past week. Yes, Tala Tonga is now the new shiny toy that we can all look at and want to play with, and it's taken a lot of the spotlight out of Jake and off of Jacob Fatu, which is a bit concerning because Jacob Fatu is still a big star among fans, but when you introduce too much talent too quick, fans don't have a chance to figure out who's who and figure out who they want to get behind, and then they're just interested in who's new because new is just fun. And as a wrestling fan, yeah, we're always looking for new stuff. And then when that new thing gets used up and we're tired of seeing that person, we want new and new and new. But the problem with that is that that's a bad formula for trying to create new stars, because you want long-term evolution. You want long-term support, long-term investment. And fans were ready to give that to Jacob, and they still are. But I would really slow the pace if I were the company. Like, hey, we don't need any more new members to this bloodline group. No more. Let's please. No more. We need Jacob Fatu to grow. We need Solo Sikoa to continue his journey. We need Tala Tonga now, Tonga Loa. There's so many guys. Think about how many have come in since the OG bloodline. Think of how many have come in since the days of Jimmy, Jay, Roman, and Sammy. There's been 5 introductions? JC Mateo, Solo Sikoa, Tama Tonga, Tonga Loa, Tala Tonga. It's just, I don't know. I'm not against any of them. I've got nothing against any of them. It's just a lot. It's, when you look at a group, here's how you know. Here's how you take the temperature of if you're maybe concerned about WWE's pacing about introducing new talent and not giving us time to absorb who's who and why we should care. If you look at a group, you step back and go, okay, let's take a look at you guys. And half the fans look at it and go, wait, who's who again? What's your name? I forget. Bad start. And I guarantee you, while I haven't conducted a study officially on this, it's not going to be posted in, scientific journals. I can say, because I have common sense, that I bet half the fans look at him and can't name all the members that have been introduced over the last year with accuracy. Yeah, because it's tough to keep track of with all these new talents, and I just would slow the pace. I really would. But it's a star building business, and they're in the business right now of trying to build as many as possible at the same time. But again, it's just you're spreading your attention too thin, the fans' attention too thin, and when you introduce the next guy, then the guy before him gets the kind of gets the shaft, because then all the attention that was on them is now on the new guy. I'm off my soapbox. So, good SmackDown. Drew McIntyre's back. Drew McIntyre, confronts Cody, and then Randy Orton RKO's Drew McIntyre out of nowhere. But it's good to have the Scotsman back. I like what he's, I really, but there's not much of his game I don't like. He's just a pro's pro. I didn't even really talk about it, so I guess I'll talk about it quickly here. So Cody comes out and held his King of the Ring crown, and asking the crowd, I'm not even going to tell you what he asked them, but he pointed out a fan named Cam who's battling leukemia, and asked the crowd to give it up for him, which, I'm not saying, if I say anything on this, it's going to sound really, there's no nice way for me to criticize this moment, so I'm just going to leave it alone and say that clearly cancer and children with cancer are just infinitely more important than anything pro wrestling could ever deliver ever. I'll just say that, and that's true, obviously. But I just, the Cody character, the whole thing just fits into a T about what I don't like. However, Cody said King of the Ring stands for where we've been and where we're going. He mentioned past kings like Brett and Booker and Steve Austin and Triple H. and then spoke about facing Cena. Randy comes out, and he recalled telling Cody that he would do whatever it took to win King of the Ring, and he said he had Cody dead to rights at Clash of Champions and was, quote, about to rearrange your skull, but I hesitated. And Orton said Cody didn't hesitate, he pulled the trigger. Orton said he won't forget it, but he respects Cody for doing it. Orton told Cody to promise him that he would go to SummerSlam and kick John Cena's ass. That's when Drew McIntyre came out. He's wearing a Bored at Work t-shirt, which is just great. I love Drew. And McIntyre said Cody and Orton sounded like they were telling each other to hang up first in a cutesy manner. Thank God the alpha has returned. I mean, it's just true. I mean, not that Randy Orton's not an alpha male or whatever, but just the things that he comes up with, it feels he's just being Drew, man. He's so comfortable in who he is. I love it. So McIntyre told Orton that he lost the battle to Cody because he lost the psychological battle long before. And he said Cody spoke about how much he respected Orton and buttered him up before sticking a knife in his back. He recalled how Cody was relentless on Orton's surgically repaired back. That's a great point, and one that I made as well, about how Cody targeted a surgically repaired back at Clash of Champions. Night of Champions. That was certainly something that we haven't seen Cody do, and one that you could put in the evidence box for Cody turning heel. But all right, so he then asked Orton what happened to him while recalling that Orton passed on a chance to punt Cody's head, and McIntyre said the legend of Orton is dead. And he told Cody he wants him to win at SummerSlam and be the next WWE champion, and spoke about how he and Cody have had parallel careers, and he wants Cody to win the title so he can rip it out of his hands. He said, I won't hesitate, unlike somebody. And then McIntyre said that before turning to Orton, who dropped him with an RKO, and that was good. So, remember, the last time we saw McIntyre, he was losing to Damian Priest at Saturday night's main event in late May in a steel cage. So, I'm glad that we have kind of moved past that. I feel like Drew, about 4 or 5 months before WrestleMania and 4 or 5 months since WrestleMania, they haven't really done something with Drew that I think would be deserving of what he's done and what he means to this business and what he's capable of. Meaning, he should be in the top spot, man. Drew McIntyre has got all the cards. He's got all the keys. Drew McIntyre is your guy. He's a guy that you could put the title on and make the face of your company and have zero worry. His promos, his in-ring, his outside-the-ring antics, his personal life, he doesn't get the company in trouble. He doesn't embarrass himself, his family. He is just exactly what you'd want in a guy that you put the weight of the company on. There. I can't speak any higher of Drew McIntyre. So we'll see what the company does, but my point is that it's been too long since he's been at the top. So, let's see here. We then have an important piece here for Saturday night's main event. Nick Aldis, Drew approached Nick Aldis, and McIntyre said Randy Orton struck first. He wanted him in the ring. Aldis said Orton left the building, but McIntyre can face him on Saturday night's main event. So, cool. Orton, Drew. Let's go. That's a main event any day. So I like that. And Saturday night's main event, shaping up to be a solid card. Seemingly, I mean, that seems to be getting more attention than the Evolution event does, but I already talked about that. So, let's talk a little bit about Monday Night Raw as we roll on here on the show. We've got the first match, it wasn't a match, but it was Io Sky seeking out her opponents with Rhea Ripley, because, you can't have Rhea, I guess, ask for a championship match we got to have Io do it. It doesn't really make sense. I'm not ever a big fan of champions seeking out their own challengers. I don't, not a big, especially these baby faces. It just tells you that they're either too lazy or too afraid to have the other opposing babyface, who they don't want to turn heel, challenge the current babyface champion. I don't know. Maybe it's just the WWE way to make sure that neither person turns heel. I'm not sure, but nonetheless, we're getting Io Sky and Rhea Ripley at the event, and yeah, that's going to be a fun. And I mentioned this too in the Raw review. This is going to be a match that could easily steal the show. Without question, easily steal the show. I mean, I think it's head and shoulders really above any other match that could steal the show. Yeah, you have Jade, you have Naomi. They had a really good match at WrestleMania. Not taking that away from them. You have Trish, you have Tiffany. But that is going to be just a matter of, how much does Tiffany have to take it down a notch or two or three in order to make sure that she doesn't, expose Trish Stratus, who, again, Trish Stratus is a lot older. And Tiffany should be able to do more in the ring than than Trish does. But I don't think that match has really any match of the night candidate flags on it. Right now, it's purely at the feet of Io Sky and Rhea Ripley, who could tear the house down. And I'm looking forward to it. So, and the New Day, Xavier Woods and Finn Balor took on JD McDonough and Finn Balor and JD McDonough took on Kofi and Xavier in a tag team title match for the World Tag Team titles. And Xavier and Kofi lose in 12 minutes and 20 seconds. I went over this on Tuesday for the Raw review on Monday, but I will say, without repeating myself, I'll summarize, not a good move. Only for the New Day. I will say that it's fine to have new champions. Certainly, we have JD and Finn who need to do something. Now all of Judgment Day is holding gold, so that's always fun when a heel group's all holding gold. We've seen that many a time throughout our wrestling lives, but it's more of a disappointment in what WWE was able to do, or to be more clear, what they weren't able to do with Kofi and Xavier as heel champions. You turn a group like that heel, turn on Big E, and you don't have a payoff in mind at all. It's embarrassing. There's no excuse for it. I don't blame Kofi. I don't blame Xavier. Xavier has so many good days ahead of him as a heel, it's not even funny. Kofi, if he retired tomorrow, I wouldn't shed a tear, but there's a lot left in Xavier Woods. And I hope at some point they see that and say, hey, let's take a chance on this guy. Because Xavier can wrestle. He's an excellent heel promo. He's infinitely better than as a babyface. We all know I wasn't the biggest fan of the New Day character, particularly Xavier and Kofi. But I think they did them dirty here. You turn a group like that heel that you never thought would, like Cena, and there's no plan. None. It's embarrassing. You can't have the team like that go as hot as they did, turn them heel, and then turn on their best friend with no payoff, by the way. No Big E payoff. And then there's no follow-up. It's like, oh, yeah, hope you enjoyed that. We're just going to kind of let you float over here for the next 6 months. I'm very disappointed in what they were able to not do with Xavier and Kofi, who I think were just poised to be the top heels of the company at the time. All right. So let's continue here. We did have, Sheamus and Rusev go 20 minutes. Really good match. I will say, though, that Rusev beating Sheamus, was it the right call? Sheamus has been around for a long time. Rusev's, though, he's the new guy who's back trying to build some momentum. Makes sense that Rusev wins, but Sheamus, really, only returned in the last year or so? And remember the whole burger after burger after burger thing from Drew McIntyre? That was just, because Sheamus clearly put on weight. And we learned later on that Sheamus just didn't have enough time to get in ring shape to come back. The company's like, hey, we need you. And he's like, oh, crap. Well, I've been sitting drinking a bunch of Guinness and not, eating. And so, that whole story has panned itself out. But I think that, Sheamus does deserve a little bit of momentum here too. But it's about Rusev for what we don't know yet. Maybe U.S. title or something like that, or Intercontinental title. But a really good match. Fun seeing these two back in the ring here with Rusev and Sheamus, who have so much history with one another, against and with each other. And the Machka kick is what got the 3 count. So, the Machka kick. All right. We then had Gunther come out, who said he was there to talk about Bill Goldberg. He buried Goldberg here. I know I mentioned this on the Raw review, but quick recap. He said that he's very capable of beating Goldberg in less than 3 minutes, but the thing is, he wants to take his time, take Goldberg apart, blow him up, outclass him, embarrass him in front of everyone who is near and dear to him, which of course is his family, who will be in attendance. That tells me this match is going to be more than 3 minutes, because this is Goldberg's final match. It's his retirement match. His family's there. I have said I don't want Goldberg doing more than he should, and I stay with that. But they've kind of told us, hey, you're going to get more than 3 minutes because Gunther wants to string this out. I would say this match goes 10 minutes. I say it goes 10 minutes with Gunther doing most of the heavy lifting. And as he should. He's a guy that's a lot younger in the ring than Bill Goldberg, who's nearly 60. Okay? I don't want to see anyone get hurt. So I don't need WWE doing anything cute with Goldberg to try to, as an FU to fans of, see, we knew he was going to do more. I don't need that because I don't want to risk the health and safety of the opponents or of the guys working together in the ring. So I really hope they don't try to get cute, but it could easily go 10 minutes because of the pace of this match. The pace of this match is going to be painfully slow. All of a sudden, an explosion, and then there's going to be like 2 to 3 minutes where it's just slowing down again, and the pacing and the rear neck chokehold, and you're going to have Gunther doing exactly what he said. And I think this match could go 10 minutes, outside chance of 12 minutes. I really think that could. Now, this segment got messy because Seth Rollins comes out, CM Punk comes out to chase off Rollins, LA Knight shows up, a brawl in the concourse with food and everything else. So that was fun. But LA Knight being in the main event's picture, even if it's just for a night, is a good sign if you're an LA Knight fan. Then we had the Kairi Sane video package, which again, I have not been a fan of the whole pirate theme. No one understands why. Even if you think you do, 95% of fans don't. Right? Bayley took on Lyra for a shot at the women's IC title. Bayley fought Lyra to a draw in 10 minutes and 15 seconds. So, triple threat coming. Triple threat incoming. We then have an announcement of Seth Rollins and LA Knight versus one-on-one for Saturday night's main event. We had Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed take on Sami Zayn and Penta in the main event of the show. This ended with Breaker and Bronson Reed beating Sami Zayn and Penta in about 8 minutes. After the match, Breaker spears Penta. Reed dragged Zayn into position for his finish. While Breaker cleared Penta from the ring, Breaker held Zayn's legs, but the heels were interrupted and everyone freezes when you hear music because Jey Uso comes out with a chair, evens the odds. And yeah, so Jey saves Sami, and I think that this has been a hell of a friendship. I have to say, an on-air friendship between Jey and Sami, who just continue all the way back from 3-4 years ago, continuing to work together on air. It's quite incredible. So, all right, well that'll do it, everybody, for this week in review. A little bit shorter than normal, but I'm sitting in a car and it's dark and I'm tired, so there is that. I really appreciate everybody for listening. I'll be back on Tuesday night with your Monday Night Raw review. If you want to go ad-free, patreon.com/WWE podcast is a perfect place to go, as well as Apple Podcasts. To go and subscribe there, click the ad-free button or the subscribe button, and you can get a week for free on both Patreon or Apple Podcasts if you want to try us for a week before you commit to anything. I do appreciate it. You can also follow us on X at wrestling_audio or search the WWE podcast. And send us an email if you want us to read it on the Mailbag Show on Fridays, mailbag@wwepodcast.com. All right. Thanks so much, everybody. Hope you enjoy your week, and we will talk soon.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to wwepodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.